I'm going to tell you a story. This is a true story, and one I want to share with you, because it's very special. In 1939, Germany declared war on Great Britain. At this time, there was a young boy and a young girl living in London. The young girl was called Joan, and she lived in Hammersmith. The young boy was called Bernard, and he lived in Fulham. They were just 12 and 13 years old. Germany wanted to bomb London, and it wasn't safe to live there anymore. Because Joan and Bernard both lived in the city of London, the government started Operation Pied Piper to get all the young people out of the city to the safety of the countryside. This was the biggest evacuation plan ever known. And this is the event that would allow Joan and Bernard to meet and to set the path for their future lives. The morning of the 2nd of September 1939, both were whisked away to Melksham, which is a little town in Wiltshire, miles away from their beloved London. They and their families did not know where they were going to, and waited to be billeted to a family to stay with. In their arrival in Melksham, Joan recalls seeing a cheeky Boy Scout. Bernard remembers seeing the most beautiful girl he had ever seen, and she was there with what he had guessed, her older sister and baby brother. Joan and Bernard did not have the happiest of evacuations, although Bernard still had his links to Scouts, and his Scout master, Mr. Young of 10th Fulham, would often make the trip to Melksham to ensure the boys was able to continue with their scouting. Joan and Bernard grew a strong friendship during their time in Melksham. Joan was soon recalled back to London to be back with her family. The only family member who didn't return from evacuation was her baby brother, Lyndon. As he ended up with such a lovely family, it was safer for him to stay there. On returning to London, Joan was signed up to help with the war effort. By this time she was 13 and expected to be working and helping her country out. Bernard was enrolled into the Royal Air Force Cadets and did plenty of effort around the district of Fulham with the Scouts. As soon as Bernard was old enough, he was called up to officially fight for his country. He went off to join the Royal Air Force as a navigator for Pegasus Squadron in the big Dakota Plains. Bernard went to many countries, including Burma, India, and Shanghai in China. He had lots of adventurous and exciting stories to tell, including how a cow carcass got blown up using aviation fuel. But that's a story for another time. Joan worked for the British Red Cross and covered much of the West End of London, and often had to race a dreaded doodlebug home from work and jump in the Anderson's shelter just in time before it hits something. Both Bernard and Joan recorded machine gun bullets lining the paths of their homes. These were caused by the German fighter planes, the Messerschmitt. But even though they were miles apart, Bernard always fought with to one girl back in England. He had made such an impression on him on evacuation day. Bernard decided to write to Joan, and he was astounded. Someone so beautiful inside and out would write back to him. It wasn't until a year after the war had ended, in 1946, that Bernard would finally return to London from being overseas. As soon as he was back in London, he went to see Joan. On the 28th of December 1946, Bernard asked Joan's father for her hand in marriage. In 1948, they were married, and in 1949, they had their first child, Anthony. But why is this story so special, I hear you ask? Because without this historic event of evacuation, I wouldn't be here today. Joan and Bernard were my old nanny and old granddad, and Anthony, their son, my granddad. As old granddad stated in his autobiography, it seems odd that the fate decided a war just to get Joan and I together. And it certainly did. They were married for over 60 glorious years. This is in memory of old Nanny, old Granddad and Grandpa Tony. I hope you've enjoyed listening to my story.